Okay. First one, I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm officially live and I'm just waiting for Philippe. Okay. Oh, okay, here we go.
Hey.
Oh, hey! Okay, this is so cool. First
How
time
are
I've
you?
done this. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I loved your post today because I just want to tell you the pregnancy brain. I had a total moment today. Um, I thought my class was at noon, so I set up at 11 a.m. and it wasn't until 1.
Yeah.
And I have had the same schedule for almost the entire year, and it was just so funny to catch myself in the moment of honestly not even like remembering my own class time. So I'm excited to hear what's happening to me when that's actually happening in my real life. So,
Yeah, well, that's actually a good thing. That is your brain
okay, good.
becoming much more specialized and getting you ready for what's really important, and that is taking care of this baby and enhancing this baby's survival. Right? And so in that moment, it's not as important the time of your class.
Right? But oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing because like my director that showed up, I was like, hey, where's my students at? She was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So it was, oh, hi, Devo. Sorry. It's like I love seeing people. I haven't done one of these. So I do have, so I figured I would ask you some questions
Okay.
pertaining to pregnancy brain. And then we would do a little introduction of the program, Your Brain on Birth, that you and I are working with Adam on. Um, but if you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself, where you're from, uh, why you're a neurologist, and
Sure.
and just like one of your favorite things to do in a day.
Sure. So my name is Dr. Philippe Dion. I'm a board certified neurologist, epilepsy specialist. I'm out here in New York City. Um, I am the founder of the Inley Brain Fit Institute, the author of the book Neuroplasticity, Your Brain's Superpower. I created an app called Dr. Dion's Brain Fit, and I just launched my online course, Take Charge of Your Brain in 30 Days.
I saw.
And yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, so we officially launched it last week, so super excited about that. Something that I like to do in my day. Well, I mean, I love spending time with my two sons. They're 9 and 7. I love to be physically active, so exercising. I grew up playing and competing in tennis, so when I can, I love to do that. Although it's been tough to do with this pandemic. So
Yeah, I feel you. And I love that you shared about your sons because you've actually experienced a natural birth with them, with them.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
what I thought was super unique is my two children, I've had two hospital births, and this will be my first natural home birth. So I thought it was really interesting of our professions, you being in the medical world and then me being in like the holistic world, but yet.
yeah, well, look, I can't take any of the credit for any of it. So yeah, so my ex-wife, she did awesome. She came to me and she was like, look, I know you're a doctor and you're in the medical field, but I want to do this naturally. And I was completely okay with it. One, because I know long before there was this westernized medicine and we had specialists like OBGYN, women have been given birth naturally. Right?
Yeah,
Um,
but for
yeah,
supportive for her as a doctor.
yeah,
I sure it was, it felt very, significant to her during that time because you are a medical professional and as a newly educated doula, I've recognized that the woman may want to experience a natural birth, but their birth partner being as their husband or wife, might not support it. And so that will actually, take away from their decision because they want to have, they want it to be a good experience for everyone. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the work that we're going to be doing, it's really to empower women, right? I mean, women's
Right.
bodies and brains are perfectly suited to give birth and adapt in incredible ways so that they can give birth safely and not only enhance their survival, but that of their baby. And so, yeah, to provide that support for somebody who wants to take that route, I think is incredibly important. And I think also just to show women that, look, you have other options besides the way we've medicalized this, right? That you're sort of designed for this. And a lot of what we do in medicine sometimes takes away from that, right? I think we've talked about how one of the things that I always found interesting when I was doing my OBGYN rotation, now probably like 15 years ago,
Well,
um, it's been quite a long time. Well, maybe not 15 years. Yeah, I guess so. Maybe about 15 years ago.
time,
When I was doing that, yeah,
time,
when I was
it's
time
almost
does fly.
okay.
Yeah. When I was doing that, and you see just the way that deliveries occur. I mean, you're taking away the assist of gravity, right? I mean, you've got women sort of in that prone position, legs are up. So you're not even utilizing one of the most powerful forces that there are on this planet to help with the delivery. And then we're giving epidurals where we're essentially paralyzing people from the waist down and we're asking them to push, right? And so,
With no sensation.
with no sensation.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, and so we've medicalized this and look, there are other options that women have out there. And so they need to know that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I know it's different when it's actually coming from a medical professional that can recognize, that birth has been medicalized, and but also, still understand that it's a very respectable practice and it does save a lot of lives. And I think that's an incredible solution to an emergency.
Yeah.
The thing that breaks my heart, because I personally experienced it, was I didn't know there was another way to give birth. Um, I just thought I go to my OB-GYN, I have my checkups, and I schedule, when I hope, or both my kids came on their due dates, so everything was perfect, and everything went really well for the most part. And so, yeah, it's definitely unique to be embarking on the beginning of where, our bodies are just naturally designed to do it all on their own. So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you 3 questions about the pregnancy brain. So, what is happening to the brain, and why, or during those moments that I just expressed that I had, where I was like, I thought my class was at noon and it's at 1, and I've had the same schedule for almost a year.
Yeah. So look, when a woman is pregnant, right? I mean, there's a lot of changes that are occurring. A lot of changes that we can see occurring within her body. And I think oftentimes we don't realize that, look, there are going to be a lot of changes also occurring in the brain. Just because you can't physically see those changes in the brain doesn't mean that it's not happening. And so the brain is changing in a way because it wants you to focus on what's going to be most important. And what's going to be most important is that baby and enhancing the survival of that baby. And so what we do see structural changes happen. And one of the things that we do see is actually the brain does get smaller, but this is not necessarily a bad thing, right? And the brain not only gets smaller during pregnancy.
Scared me when I read that in your contribution to the program we're developing. I was like, my
Yeah.
brain is smaller? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's getting smaller, but again, not necessarily a bad thing. as a result of it getting smaller, it's just focusing on what's going to be most important, right? And while the brain itself gets a little bit smaller, we do see that some neurons actually increase in size. Some
Oh,
neurons that are specific to places in the brain that are responsible for sensation, right? And so women will tell you that they love the smell
mm-hmm.
of their babies, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're become hypersensitive when it comes to smell. So there's definitely structural changes. One of those structural changes that I think is absolutely fascinating and super interesting is that the amygdala, which is this almond-shaped area in your temporal lobe, right? So kind of like right around here, and plays a significant role in fear, decreases in size, which means that women
We get
are
brave.
not, you get braver, right? You become hyper vigilant to threat, and you're willing to face any threat, anybody or anything that's going to potentially threaten your baby. And so there are these changes that are occurring that are really important for the survival of that newborn baby.
And that's so interesting to hear that because for me, we, or women just in general, we just consider that our instinct. That's our motherly, intuitive instinct. So I love that you just shared that because, I had no idea that that even was a thing or existed in my brain.
Yeah. So we see all kind of changes take place, right? We know that different chemicals increase, right? So obviously something like oxytocin
Right.
increases, which
Mm-hmm.
increases the bonding between mother and child, right? And it also does play a role in allowing milk to come down into the breast so that the mother can breastfeed. But one of the really interesting things is that oxytocin also is linked to like a mind-body connection, right?
Right.
And one of the things that you do often hear is that a woman will hear a baby crying, and especially if it's her baby, and the baby can be in a completely different room, and she'll begin to lactate, right? And that's attributed to sort of oxytocin. So you're getting all these kind of changes that are occurring. And again, it's all about enhancing this baby's survival.
That's incredible. And it all goes together with the body and the brain. They're all designed just to do that naturally, right? No direction. You don't need training. It's not like you don't have to go take a certification or a course. That's just naturally happening in your body.
Right, that's just naturally happening in your body. I mean, the
Wow.
body and the brain are these incredible machines that know exactly what to do.
I love that. Okay, now question about that follow up. When does all that start during pregnancy? Is that from conception that the mother starts to shift, or is it more along the lines when they get down to like second or third, or is it like closer to birth that all of those hormones start to be released and brain shrinks?
Yeah. So you're getting different changes occurring at different times, right?
Okay.
And so, when a woman becomes pregnant, estrogen goes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And things like estrogen and testosterone play a significant role in your brain sort of remodeling itself from the very beginning, right?
Okay, so from
Uh,
like as soon as the woman.
Right. So there are all these chemical changes that are happening that are going to cause changes in your brain itself. You may not be getting, increased levels of oxytocin and lactation early on. Like you're going to get that much later, but you're starting to get some chemical changes that are going to influence how the brain evolves really early on with the rise in the sex hormones like estrogen and
Mhm.
changes in testosterone levels.
See, I knew with all three of my children within 3 weeks. So before they could even consider it a viable pregnancy, before my baby even had a heartbeat, I felt my maternal organs just changing. And do you think that's in relation to the new hormones being released? Like, was I that? Am I that? I'm pretty in tune with my body, so it's like any changes I see because that's my profession for the last decade has been anatomy, right?
Yeah.
but it's been a lot of self-study of understanding my own body so that I can share with others, the most optimal way to live a very natural, holistic lifestyle. But yeah, so for me, the fact that it happens so quickly when other women are like, well, I didn't know until I was like 8 or 9 weeks.
Right.
What do you think the difference is there?
Well, I think it's just like you said, it's just whether or not people are in tune with what's going on inside of them, right? But those look, when we're checking to see if somebody's pregnant, we're measuring hormone levels, whether we're doing it in the urine or in the
Mhm.
blood. That's what we're measuring. And so long before we were testing whether somebody is pregnant, their hormone levels are increasing anyway, and are going to cause some physiological changes. Whether you're in tune to them or not, that's up to the woman. But those changes are occurring really early, right? It's the same way every now and then you'll hear a story where some woman didn't know until she was 9 months pregnant, right? And you're kind of like,
Oh, until she was,
how is that possible? You
yeah.
know? Um,
Why?
but it happens. I mean, there must have been some denial in some of those stories, but right.
Right. Yeah, that's fascinating. I
Yeah,
would
but
hear their story.
yeah, but whether they're in denial or not, there's physiological and hormonal changes happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So when do these changes end, right? So when does the brain return back? Is it is it like right after birth, or is that why they do like the 6 weeks postpartum? Like, how is the brain measuring during all of that, or coming back, I guess?
Yeah, so some studies show that it can be 2 years later,
Oh my gosh.
right? And which kind of makes sense, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
newborn baby, that toddler needs you to be very much in tune with it,
So women should
right?
have years worth of maternity leave.
Oh yeah, no, we definitely need to change maternity and paternity leave in this
And
country.
paternity and free.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. With studies like that, I mean, you would think that's 2 years.
yeah.
I mean, I can vouch for that maternally. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, look, we're not that different from other animals, right? And you see, other animals that can't even conceive for a period of time, right, after they've given birth. We're not so different. I mean, look, the primary focus the first couple years of that baby's life is to make sure that that baby survives. That baby is incredibly vulnerable. And so we're going to devote all of our resources to that baby.
ah, this is so good. I love it. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight on those 3 questions. I know we could probably go forever on this, but let's go ahead and talk about the program that we're making with Adam. And I don't know, I guess it probably should be launching and within maybe a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're working on it tomorrow.
Yep.
It's called Your Brain on Birth, and Philippe is going to be sharing the expertise from the medical standpoint of exactly what he just shared here, in a in-depth experience. So it's a quest. I love that name. It's like the quest of your brain on birth.
Yeah.
And it's a program that's integrated into a software. It's really accessible. It'll be completely complimentary. And I'll be sharing insight from the natural side of things, wellness, and all this information that I just recently came into within this past year of taking, the different certifications and courses that I have. So do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, look, I'm super excited about doing this project, right? I think oftentimes pregnant women are a vulnerable population, and I think empowering them to make whatever choice works best for them and for their family, I think is really, really important. And offering them that support is really important. And look, I'm looking forward to talking with women about the changes that are occurring in their brain. So that way they're becoming more of an expert, right? I mean, when you become more of an expert, you don't need all that general information that you've been accumulating in your brain for decades, right?
That
um,
possibly isn't serving you, but detouring, right? There,
right. And
I feel like I've been detoured my whole life, like pushed in like the herd, the direction of the herd when my body and mind were like telling me to go this way.
yeah, and especially not serving you in this particular moment in time when
Right.
you're pregnant and getting ready to deliver and take care of this baby, right? So your brain's becoming much more of an expert. I'll talk a little bit about sometimes women will develop neurological symptoms in their pregnancy and what that all means, right? If a woman has a history of neurological disease, what can occur as a result of the pregnancy? We'll talk about changes that occur in the brain. We'll even talk about how the changes that occur in the brain essentially make sure that our human species continues, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Women that opt in to have babies.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, there needs to be a reward for having babies, and our brain makes sure that we focus on that reward because it's not always the most pleasant experience for women, but they always remember uh, the wonderful moments, and it keeps them going and keeps them wanting to have more children.
It really does. I can totally vouch on that level. And it's for me, there's just been no other love that's ever compared. And I would give my life. I would walk through fire. I mean, I would do absolutely everything for my children. And
Yeah,
it's it's a path that I love. That's a part of my life. Through this journey. And I'm just so excited to, you know, bring that. And I love how you said it, just empower women again, to bring
yeah,
that power back to women, to share with them that, yes, you can do this. And your body and your brain already know exactly what they're doing naturally. And, you know, as long as you're preparing for the experience, right? You're not just sitting around for 9 months and then the birth shows up and you're like, okay,
right.
no.
Yeah,
But, mental preparation, physical preparation, and, that's a lot of the work that I'm doing now. So it's incredibly powerful to have your expertise alongside me in this. And I'm just super grateful for the program we're creating. And yeah, thank you so
sure.
much for joining me on my first IG live TV.
Well, thank you. I think, look, the work that you're doing is really going to debunk a lot of myths for women. So I think just getting to see you right now in this moment in your life when you're going through this pregnancy and getting to see how you're going about your day to day is going to
Mhm.
be really important for women because you are physically active. I know you do a lot of yoga. Um, you take very good care of yourself. You eat really healthy, right? And so, debunking myths like eating for 2 or 3 or whatever it is, right? Because you're actually not doing that, right? Debunking myths like you can't be physically active, assuming that you've got a healthy pregnancy going on. It's important to be physically active during your pregnancy. And
It
so
is.
I think, yeah, and so I think, people getting a chance to see you and interact with you, that's going to change a lot of lives. So people are going to be really lucky just to have that moment with you.
I hope so. I hope so because it's become such a very strong passion and desire. And I want to share it. Being vegan through pregnancy is very frowned upon. And I've been doing it, and it's just following. It's being disciplined.
Yeah,
It's making choices that serve you, and that are gifting you a heightened experience through your pregnancy. Right? Pregnancy is not meant to destroy a woman's body.
right,
It's
right.
just, I mean, the organs speak for themselves when it comes to, they do all the work. It's our choices every single day, from the time that you go to bed at night. Can you get up in the morning and have a morning meditation? Did you get enough rest? And,
Yeah.
just making daily choices, and it just becomes a practice and a habit. You just build the habit, and that's exactly what I want to express and share, because a lot of everything that I've ever seen throughout women and what they experience in pregnancy is a lot of shame about their
Mhm.
bodies, a lot of fear about what happens to their bodies after birth, you know, in the appearance. And I've seen it destroy women, and it shouldn't, you
Yeah.
know?
And I think, look, you are going to inspire a lot of women just with your message, by your example. So I think that this is going to be awesome. And we should definitely give a shout out to Adam for
Yes.
getting us all together on this, right? So, yeah.
Adam. Big shout out to Adam. Adam is our very good mutual friend, and he is the visionary behind this project, which has been so wonderful, and it's been such a gift to have him.
Yeah.
And he's like been a part of my whole pregnancy. It's the
Yeah.
craziest thing. So
Yeah.
it'll um and we'll have him on the program. So he'll be popping in, and we'll have a couple of other guests as well. So
Yeah. So this is going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm super excited.
I am
Super
too.
excited. So,
We do this, and then tomorrow we're like integrating the system. It's going to be awesome.
yeah.
So, all right, Philippe. Well, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and thank you again for being my first little IG live guest. I dig it.
Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, we'll talk. Actually, we'll talk tomorrow. So awesome.
I'll see you then.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.